This is C.L.S. All-in-One, and today we're going to be changing the oil on a 2007 through 2014 Cadillac Escalade EXT. So we're going to need an oil pan, 6 quarts of oil, I'm using 5W30, an oil filter, a ratchet to take off your oil plug, an oil filter wrench, a funnel, a rag, and some rubber gloves. So let's go underneath and locate your oil plug. It's going to be located right between your tires, a little bit towards the back. And here's a look at it right here. That's what we're going to be taking off to drain the oil. So before we take off our oil plug, you want to make sure your oil catch pan is located below it. You're going to want to offset just a little bit towards the passenger tire because it's going to shoot that direction. After a couple turns with the ratchet, you should just be able to take it off by hand. And you want to make sure you have those rubber gloves on because it's going to shoot out here pretty fast. And notice the oil shoots out sideways here. That's why you want to make sure the oil catch pan is a little bit offset, not directly below it. And make sure you take special care of your oil pan drain bolt. You don't want to get that dirty and contaminate your oil. So now it's time to patiently wait for the oil to drain all the way. Could take up to 5 minutes. So while we're waiting for it to drain, we're going to find the oil filter location. So if you go on the opposite side of the oil pan, you're going to find the oil filter right here. But before we take our filter off, you're going to want to make sure to put your oil plug back in. You're going to want to hand tighten it first, and get it nice and snug with the ratchet next. Make sure not to tighten it too much, or you could strip the bolt. So now we're going to use our oil filter wrench to loosen the oil filter. Should only take a couple turns, and then you can take it off by hand. Now this part's going to get real messy, so make sure those gloves are on. And make sure your oil catch pan is directly below the oil filter to catch all this oil. And make sure to hold on to the oil filter, because if it slips and drops in the oil pan, it's going to make a big mess. Now it's time to grab our new oil filter. And with the new oil filter, you want to make sure you lubricate the O-ring on the top here. You can just use some motor oil and lubricate the ring all the way around. If you don't lubricate the O-ring, it could become seized next time you do an oil change and make it very hard to take off. So you want to put your oil filter on by hand first, and we're going to want to tighten as much as we possibly can by hand. Once we got it as tight as we can by hand, we're going to use our oil filter wrench to go another quarter to half turn. You just want to get it nice and snug, don't over tighten it. Now we can go ahead and remove our oil catch pan and get that out of the way. Now it's time to go up top here and add some oil. Here's a look at the location where we're going to be filling the oil, right here. And here's how we check the oil. Here's the oil dipstick right here. So let's go ahead and remove the cap and add some oil. Make sure your funnel is nice and clean. We don't want to contaminate your new oil here. So I'm going to add 6 quarts of 5W30 synthetic motor oil. Once all 6 quarts are added, we're going to go ahead and put our oil cap back on, and we're going to start the vehicle. We're going to let the vehicle run for about a minute. And the reason we're starting the engine before we check the oil is we want to circulate the oil and make sure the oil filter gets filled so we get an accurate reading when we check the oil. After letting the vehicle run for 1 minute, it's time to go ahead and turn the vehicle off and let it sit for 1 minute before we check it. So to check the oil, we're going to go ahead and pull the dipstick out, clean it off, and here's a look at the marks here. We want the oil to be at the top of the hatch marks, which is right here. So that's where we want the oil level to be at. So we're going to put the dipstick back in now, and then pull it right back out to check the level. So here's a look at the level. We're at the very top of the hatch marks, so we're right at perfect oil level. So we're almost done now. The only thing left to do now is reset our oil life inside our car. So we're going to go inside our dash here, and we're going to locate the second button down here to the left, and we're going to push that until it says the oil life. Once you have the oil life up here on the dash, we're going to go down to the check mark here, and you're going to hold that for about 5 seconds. After holding for 5 seconds, it's going to reset the oil life back to 100%.
Well, we're all done now. This is C.L.S. All-in-One. Thanks for watching. If you want to hear more from me, please like and subscribe.